Hello, my name is Chris Eccles, Chief Engagement Officer at Blank Park Zoo, and I want to welcome you to Hope for the Wild Cassowary. I'm so excited you're joining us on our journey to learn more about cassowary conservation. Did you know there are 3 species of cassowary that all can be found in New Guinea, northeastern Australia, and the nearby islands? The dwarf cassowary is the smallest, averaging around 3 feet tall, followed by the northern cassowary, standing at nearly 5 feet tall, and finally the southern cassowary, which can reach 5.5 feet tall. Ostrich and emu are the only birds that are taller than a cassowary. Cassowaries are considered endangered, with the latest estimates suggesting the total Australian population of southern cassowary numbers between 1,200 to 1,500 adults. The main threats to cassowary include fragmented loss of habitat and threats from other animals such as dogs and feral pigs. Blank Park Zoo is proud to live our mission to inspire appreciation of the natural world through conservation, education, research, and recreation. As a member of the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, we work collectively to save animals in the wild from extinction. During this program, you will have the opportunity to hear from a variety of speakers who will highlight the coordinated conservation efforts of staff from Blank Park Zoo and the Community for Coastal and Cassowary Conservation, or C4. Along the way, you will also meet Sydney and Big Bird, 2 southern cassowaries that call Blank Park Zoo home, and you'll see what it takes to keep them healthy and thriving. The work to save cassowaries takes time, patience, and funds. At Blank Park Zoo, we believe that everyone can make a difference every time you visit or take part in our programs. We hope you enjoy the program and feel inspired to learn, take action, and have hope for the wild.
Cassowaries are part of a group of birds known as ratites. These are flightless birds that lack a keel. This is the part of the sternum that on flighted birds would stick out and provide a place for flight muscles to attach to. But in the case of ratites, they just have a flat sternum. Other birds in this group include ostriches, rhea, kiwi, and emu. Cassowaries are the 3rd tallest bird in the world after ostrich and emu. They can be over 5 feet tall. So if Sydney were standing right next to me, she would probably be up to here. Cassowaries are the 2nd heaviest bird in the world after ostrich, and they can be up to 120 to 160 pounds, with females tending to be a little bit larger than males on average. Sydney last weighed in at about 115 pounds. If we start with the bottom of the bird and work our way up, we can first take a look at the feet. Each foot has 3 toes, and the innermost toe has a long claw. This claw can be up to 4 to 5 inches long, and it's an excellent tool for the cassowary to use to defend itself. It can also be used for things like scratching or digging in the forest floor to find fallen fruits. Moving up, we can see that they have strong, powerful legs. These are great for running at speeds up to 30 miles an hour, jumping at heights up to 7 feet, and they're also good swimmers. These strong legs in combination with the long claws make an excellent defense system for the cassowary, as they can deliver a strong kick. Next, if we look at their body, you can see that they're covered in coarse black feathers that almost look hair-like in appearance. These feathers are also unique in that they're double shafted, meaning that they look like 2 feathers connected into one. Cassowaries do have wings as well, they're just very tiny. So if you can see on the side of the body where there are long spikes, that's where the wings are located. And those long spikes are actually feathers as well. They're just a long quill part of the feather extended into a long hollow tube. So I have one here that was naturally shed from Sydney, and it's lightweight but sturdy, and it almost feels kind of like a pencil. Moving up, we can see that on their neck they don't have any feathers, but rather they have brightly colored blue and red skin. You can also see on either side of their neck that they have hanging flaps of skin, and these are called wattles. That's where they get their name, the double-wattled cassowary. Finally, we get to the top of the bird where you can see the feature on top of their head, and that is called the casque. The casque is unique to each individual. There are lots of ideas on what this casque might be used for in the cassowary, but I'll pass it over to our colleague Dr. Todd Green to tell you more about the casque.
Hello, my name is Todd Green, and I'm a postdoctoral teaching fellow at New York Institute of Technology, College of Osteopathic Medicine. I am an anatomist and paleontologist who studies both extinct and living animals, and much of my current work is focused on non-avian dinosaurs and modern cassowaries. I'm particularly interested in what the anatomy and function of cassowary headgear can tell us about extinct dinosaur ornaments. Cassowaries possess conspicuous ornaments called casques, which consist of a keratin sheath the same substance that makes up fingernails, hair, and feathers, and a light bony core. Cassowary casques have been hypothesized to function in physical ramming, vocalization, thermoregulation, and visual display. But before we can answer long-standing questions regarding the biological roles of cassowary casques, I had to first describe the anatomy and development of these structures. Although casques have been studied for the past 150 years, at least 7 major interpretations have been made for the individual bones that contribute to the structure. This may be partially due to the fact that sutures between bones obliterate as birds age. In order to understand the baseline anatomy, I redescribed casque osteology in southern cassowaries over development using micro-CT imaging. This technology allowed me to visualize detailed external and internal anatomy of the skull without damaging valuable specimens. Because cassowaries are not born with casques, I analyzed skulls from embryo to adulthood to track the bones that will make up the casque prior to suture closure. I found that the casques of southern cassowaries are actually made up of 8 different bones. This 3D printed skull from an immature 10-month-old cassowary was made from micro-CT data. The false colors represent the paired nasals in red, the lacrimals in orange, and frontals in purple, as well as the unpaired mesethmoid in blue and the median casque element in green. This median casque element has not been described previously and appears to be a unique bone among modern birds. Understanding this unusual developmental anatomy in cassowary casques is important for several reasons. We now know how cassowary casques can be used as analogs for extinct non-avian dinosaurs. We know the anatomy does not support functions such as physical ramming or vocalization. And now that this anatomical baseline has been established, we can formally investigate the 2 remaining hypotheses for the casque: thermoregulation and visual display. The more we learn about how these animals behave and interpret their environment, the more we can supplement the ongoing conservation efforts to protect these amazing birds. I myself have been fascinated by cassowaries since I was a young boy, and this lifelong passion has led to my doctoral project featuring cassowaries, research articles, an upcoming outreach documentary featuring my work with these birds, as well as meeting individuals that care as much about these animals as I do. So stay tuned for more scientific discoveries to come.
Did you know cassowaries have been known to eat over 230 kinds of plants? The seeds go right through their digestive systems, totally unharmed. And they come out in a big pile of cassowary poop, which in turn helps them grow. The seeds are dispersed well away from that original plant, and that helps to create and maintain a very healthy ecosystem and establishes the cassowary as a keystone species for its environment.
Cassowaries are typically shy and reclusive animals in the wild. However, they can become aggressive when they feel threatened. Typically, they use headbutting and pecking as defense mechanisms. However, each foot comes equipped with a 5-inch long razor-sharp talon on their middle toe. They use kicks and powerful blows to defend against any potential dangers.
This is Big Bird, our male cassowary. He came to us in 2011 from Florida. He is 37 years old, and these guys live around their 40s in captivity. He loves his bananas and his grapes the most out of his diet. His favorite enrichment, he likes to manipulate things, so we'll give him dowels and PVC, and he likes to pull those out along with egg carton. And his favorite thing to do is be a dad. With cassowaries, the male is actually the one who does all the sitting on the eggs, and they will incubate them for about around 50 days, and they will take care of them until they're ready to fledge and be on their own. When you come to the zoo, if you're wanting to know if you're looking at Big Bird, one of his big identifiers is his casque and its unique shape.
So here at the zoo, we do behavioral husbandry training with our cassowary. We use positive reinforcement, so clicker training, and we do a lot of different behaviors that will help them with their health and behavior and participate in their own husbandry and health care. And we do some additional fun behaviors that kind of promote natural behaviors, such as like a jump behavior, and that mimics if they were to forage for fruit that is kind of high up in the trees, they'll jump to get that fruit. So we kind of mimic that behavior and get them to do a little jump for us as well. So we train our cassowaries to do a lot of simple shifting behaviors. Cassowaries are protected contact, which means we never go directly in with them. They have very powerful legs and claws that can be dangerous, so we always train behind a protective barrier. So we train them to shift inside and outside or over if we need to clean their stalls or to manage them. We train them to target so we can shape other behaviors and move them around that way. We also are training for blood draw descents, so we can potentially collect blood from them down the road. During breeding season, which is in the summertime, we kind of back off on training and don't get the chance to train them as much because they're focused on breeding and we don't want to disturb them. So we pick up to training in the fall, and usually we kind of have to back up a few steps so they can get back on track with training, and then we'll train them through the winter. We train them for West Nile injection as well. Cassowaries are susceptible to West Nile virus, so we have to give them their vaccine every year. We train them to do that, and we usually do that in the spring before they come out in the spring and enter breeding season.
Each animal at Blank Park Zoo has their very own diet, which is determined by their animal care team, the veterinary team, and the commissary team. Our commissary team does a fantastic job of making sure our animals are being fed high-quality diets made from high-quality ingredients. A lot of people might assume that cassowaries are carnivorous based on looks alone, but cassowaries are primarily frugivores or fruit eaters. They can also eat fungi, seeds, insects, or small invertebrates, but in the wild, they eat the fallen fruit of over 150 species of plants. Here at the zoo, the cassowaries get different diets based on their nutritional needs. Year-round, they get plenty of fruit and sweet potato and carrot, but during breeding season, we provide them with extra protein by offering broccoli and a variety of boiled beans, including chickpeas and red beans. This extra protein offers an opportunity to gain weight, which is especially important for our male big bird once he starts sitting on eggs. So what is a cassowary's favorite snack? For our cassowaries, they love to eat banana. Their trainers will often save the banana for a high reward item during training sessions. They also love grapes and melon. Every once in a while, we will offer each bird half of a watermelon. This is a fun enrichment item for them because they love watermelon, but also because they get to rip big chunks of melon off of the rind. This also replicates behaviors that they would display in the wild. While some of the birds here at the zoo require their diets to be chopped into small pieces, our commissary team is able to leave the cassowary produce in large chunks. The cassowaries are able to swallow it whole, and sometimes you can actually see the whole fruit pieces in their fecal output, which is great to help spread seed in their natural habitats.
So behind me right now is our female cassowary here at Blank Park Zoo. Her name is Sydney. She's about 11 and a half years old. She's been here at the Blank Park Zoo since 2012. She's a really good lady. You can tell our two cassowaries apart. Mostly the females are larger than the males, so Sydney does stand a little bit taller than a big bird. And her cast, the part on her head, actually is straight up, giving her even some extra height. Sydney's about 52 kilograms, which is about 115 pounds. So these guys are the second heaviest bird in the world. They are from Australia. Sydney's favorite activity here at the Blank Park Zoo is sparring with her trees. So they do a little bit of a kickboxing, which is really cool to see. We even have a big punching bag that we sometimes give her as an enrichment item, but her favorite enrichment is anything that is snack based. So anything that's got food involved, she is definitely game for. Her favorite foods, in fact, are bananas and grapes. So she absolutely goes bananas for it.
Did you know, after the female lays her eggs, her job's done. Then Dad steps in and incubates the eggs on the nest. He won't leave it, not even once, for at least 50 days, not for food or for water. Then, once the eggs hatch, he raises the chicks for the next 9 months, protecting them and teaching them how to survive, including forage for food.
Cassowaries can jump up to 7 feet high and sometimes feet first towards a potential threat. In addition to jumping, they're also skilled swimmers and can run as fast as 30 miles an hour.
Is that a horn? Nope, it's called a casque, and we don't know its exact purpose. We do know that it's a bony structure covered in keratin. Keratin is also found in human fingernails and hair. Some proposed theories for its purpose are finding a mate, navigating through the dense rainforest, or as a place for heat exchange.
You may have noticed that our cassowaries have different habitats. The reason for this is cassowaries are solitary in the wild, so we mimic that social structure here by providing them each with their own habitat or territory. Now we do carefully reintroduce Sydney and Big Bird each breeding season, which is summertime for us here, as they would normally come together in the wild. They'll be together for several weeks for mating and for Sydney to lay her eggs. Once all of her eggs are laid, they will return to having their own habitats or territories just as they would leave each other in the wild. Sydney would go off on her own. She may meet up with other males to lay a couple more clutches of eggs, and then she'll do her own thing. Once she's laid her eggs, her job is all done, so now it's Big Bird's turn to do the rest. As the father, Big Bird is in charge of tending to the nest, incubating the eggs, and raising the chicks. Sydney will lay 3 to 5 eggs in the nest. These eggs are bright green in color and they blend in well with the rainforest floor. They're also pitted in texture. Big Bird will sit on these eggs for 50 to 60 days, at which point, if they are fertile, a cassowary chick will hatch out. Cassowary chicks are precocial, meaning that they can move around on their own right away after hatching, but they do rely on Dad to protect them and show them how to get food. Cassowaries are brown and tan striped when they first hatch, and this helps them to blend in with the environment. Big Bird will look after the chicks for about 9 months before juveniles would be on their own. As cassowaries grow up, their pattern will change from brown and tan striped to blonde, to brown, and finally to black. Additionally, their colorful neck skin will start to develop and they will grow their casques. We were very excited to welcome our very first cassowary chick here at Blank Park Zoo in 2019. Some of you may remember Radar and watching him get to grow up with Big Bird here. Big Bird was an excellent father and it was truly a joy to get to watch them out in the habitat together. Radar now lives at the Toledo Zoo and Aquarium where there is another female cassowary and they may get to do mating of their own in the future. The Toledo Zoo and Aquarium, Blank Park Zoo, and several other accredited institutions across the country participate in a Species Survival Program, or SSP, that is managed by a corresponding Taxon Advisory Group, or TAG, as part of the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, or AZA. Through this program, a breeding and transfer plan is developed that is designed to manage and maintain a stable, diverse, and healthy XC2 population.
Hi, my name is Jordan Springer, and I'm an intern with the Avian and Reptile team at Blank Park this fall. One important part of the care that we provide for our animals is enrichment. Enrichment is when we add to or modify the care or habitat of our animals in order to provide stimulation. The purpose of enrichment is to encourage the animals to exhibit some of the behaviors that they might in the wild. Enrichment is beneficial to both the physical and mental health of our animals, and a good enrichment item is one that encourages the animals to practice natural behaviors. When preparing ideas for enrichment, it's important to consider a species' natural history. For example, cassowaries spend a lot of their time in the wild foraging or looking for wild food resources. So, for Big Bird and Sydney, we present their food in a variety of ways so that they can practice foraging. As part of their daily care routine, we scatter their food across the floor of their habitat and also present it from hanging feeders like these. Together, these encourage the cassowaries to spend time searching for their food and exploring their habitat. Thanks!
Cassowaries are extremely important animals. They're considered a keystone species, which means that they play a special ecological role in their native environments. Cassowaries mainly eat fruit, and this diet is what makes them so essential to their communities. Cassowaries eat the fruits that they find in one area of the forest, and then they carry the seeds of that fruit to a new area of the forest and poop out the seeds. Some plants even rely on being consumed by cassowaries for germination. Passing through the cassowary's digestive tract is what allows those seeds to germinate and grow. Cassowaries are often called the gardeners of the rainforest because of the special role that they play. Without cassowaries to disperse seeds throughout the forest, the structure of their native forest would be completely different. Unfortunately, cassowary populations are currently declining in the wild. Certain populations, like the ones in Australia, are considered endangered or vulnerable. Habitat loss and habitat fragmentation are two major causes for this decline. Habitat is destroyed by deforestation and human development, and what areas are left are often small and isolated from each other, which prevents cassowaries from accessing all of the potentially available habitat. This can isolate groups and disrupt natural movement. Traffic collisions are another threat to cassowaries. Habitat loss and fragmentation drive cassowaries closer to human populations and infrastructure, causing them to wander onto roads. Cassowaries are also threatened by things like feral dogs and pigs, human hunting, and climate change and natural disasters. Luckily, there are a lot of awesome groups out there who are doing their best to protect cassowaries. Groups like C4, the Community for Coastal and Cassowary Conservation, Rainforest Rescue, and the Cassowary Recovery Team, and many more. These teams are working to save cassowary habitats by protecting and conserving land, running plant nurseries and replanting native vegetation, and creating corridors between fragmented territories. They also take care of injured and orphaned cassowaries that need help, and they engage their communities in cassowary conservation. Blank Park Zoo also helps protect cassowaries. As a part of the Cassowary Species Survival Plan, we maintain cassowary species in captivity. The Species Survival Plan manages captive populations and preserves genetic diversity in order to keep the entire species alive and healthy. Baby Radar was born as a part of the Species Survival Plan, and he's gone on to Toledo Zoo to help preserve the species even further. Breeding is one way that we contribute to the continued survival of cassowaries. Like other accredited zoos that house cassowaries, we are also constantly engaged in husbandry research. We're always trying to learn more about how we can best provide care for our cassowaries. Being able to spend every day with these birds allows us to learn more about a species that is often hard to observe in the wild. We also support organizations that do in situ work like C4 and others that protect cassowaries in their native habitats. You can help cassowaries by continuing to learn more about them and spreading awareness. Supporting accredited zoos like Blank Park Zoo and supporting organizations like C4, Rainforest Rescue, and others is a great way to make sure that cassowaries have the help that they need to continue to thrive in the wild.
C4 stands for Community for Coastal and Cassowary Conservation. My name is Peter Rolls and I am currently the president of C4. I've been the president since 2015. I've been in C4 on and off since the early 1990s. C4 is a community group. That means it's entirely run by volunteers. It was a response to a perceived need to do something about the rapidly declining population of cassowaries. There had been a lot of clearing of lowland rainforest, and the cassowary population had sort of been hanging on but was declining. We thought, or a number of people thought, that possibly the best way to stop the rainforest clearing, which is what we really were about, was to pick an iconic species like the cassowary and say, if we can save enough habitat for cassowaries, we can save a lot of forest and a lot of other wildlife will benefit as well. Very early in the piece, it was realised that a good way of trying to look after those animals was to put their food back. Putting food for cassowaries back was really pretty easy. People collected cassowary scats because cassowaries are major dispersers of rainforest trees. Collect the cassowary scats, bring them into C4, we'd grow the seeds, make rainforest food plants for the cassowaries, and then put them back. First it was back into our own yards, our own properties, and then it was a matter of hunting around for other people who would do it. And that's continued to grow so that we now are all about looking for land which is not being used any other way productively and can be made back into cassowary habitat.
This is a wonderful area for exploring the wildlife and the natural habitat because there's so much happening. The enormous diversity of plant and animal species. I think people around the world are more aware now than years past of the value of natural habitat. we're seeing quite a lot of support for what we do, and I think we are effective in steering the juggernaut of human development into safer ways. We try to share the things we value with others who may not be even aware of what is here. And by doing so, we believe that people will discover and thereby respect and want to protect and preserve. We'd love to have your help. We need a lot of help because there is always more jobs than we can do in the time available. We welcome volunteers with open arms, and the other side of that is that we, like everybody else who joins, learn a lot of things because we have an enormous range of talented, informed people who are very willing to share their knowledge. And so by working together and sharing all that knowledge, it's just such an enriching experience.
So in 2009, I had the opportunity through the Blank Park Zoo's Staff Conservation Fund to travel to Mission Beach, Australia, which is in northern Queensland, to help C4 with their cassowary conservation efforts. So northern Queensland, around Mission Beach, is one of the few places you can see cassowaries in the wild. It's the only place in Australia that they live, in the rainforest. That area is also home to the Wet Tropics National Heritage Area and the Great Barrier Reef Heritage Area. And they butt up right next to each other. The rainforest goes right out to the ocean pretty much, and it's a really cool area. It's very remote. Mission Beach is a kind of small town, and they really love their cassowaries there. They have a lot of signage, and they even have festivals, and that's where C4 is located. So C4 runs a visitor center and a nursery that they use to grow plants to help with revegetation projects, and also just native community gardens as well. People can come buy plants from the nursery there. So I got to help with defleshing seeds, which means taking the hard shell off the seed, and that's what cassowaries would do in the wild if they ate the fruit. The seeds kind of go through their digestive tract and it softens up the outside hard rind, and it allows the seeds to actually sprout just right after it passes through them. So we have to do that job for them, and then we'll plant those seeds. They do a lot of just revegetation plots out there, so I got to also visit one of those revegetation sites where they were trying to grow back some of the natural habitat, natural rainforest. So they'll take the seedlings that they grew in the nursery and then take those and plant those. It's restoring natural cassowary habitat, and the trees they grow will become producers for cassowary food and grow fruit for them to eat. C4 also helps run a rehabilitation center for the cassowaries, which is nearby. So that center will take in injured or orphaned cassowaries. Cassowaries are really susceptible to car strikes, so they really suggest people drive slow in the area. There's signage all over the place, but it's unavoidable sometimes, and a lot of adults get hit by cars and their offspring end up orphaned. So the rescue will take those in with the goal of just rehabilitating them, getting them to the age where they can forage by themselves, get them healthy, and then they are able to usually release them once they are doing well on their own. I got to see a couple of orphaned cassowaries while we were at the center, so they collect fruit for them, prepare their diet, and they're pretty hands-off. It's pretty secluded. They try not to let the cassowaries see them, so they're not getting used to humans at all, and they'll provide food for them to forage. Near the Cassowary Recovery Center, I saw one of my first cassowaries in the wild, and that was a pretty amazing experience. Her name was Bella. The locals around Mission Beach know all the cassowaries. They kind of have different territories. They know them based on their casques and their just overall appearance. so that was really interesting to learn. But the one I met was Bella. She was a pretty big lady. She did have a bald spot on the side, and that's one way they recognized her. She was unfortunately hit by a car, but survived and healed. But it was just really impressive to see cassowaries out walking in the wild. She was just kind of walking through foraging for fruit, and it was intimidating, but they're just there to do their own thing, and if you don't interfere with them, they're not going to interfere with you. Visiting cassowaries in their native habitat and working with C4 really gave me a renewed appreciation for this unique species and the desire to share their story with others. I was also reminded, if you want to save a species, you have to save its home. We have species right here in Iowa that need help, and planting a native garden or a tree can provide them with food and shelter.
Thank you for joining us for Hope for the Wild Cassowary. Understanding the world around us and finding ways to work together is the first step to save animals and habitats in the wild. Feeling inspired and want to help? Visit us at Blank Park Zoo and support cassowary conservation. A portion of every dollar spent goes to saving animals in the wild. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our partners in conservation, Community for Coastal and Cassowary Conservation, for all the work they are doing to save cassowaries in the wild. It takes all of us working together to make a difference. Remember, you have an impact. Join us next year for our Hope for the Wild program series. We will take you on a journey to learn more about the animals in our care and how collective efforts are being made to save them in the wild. Information about our next series will be available on our website in January. Thank you.